It is great to have you on the Family Goals podcast with David Pollack and Pastor Jay. I'm Joel House, and on this podcast, we want to encourage you to grow closer to God, to strengthen your marriage, and to inspire your family to reach its highest potential. Today, our topic of discussion is one of my favorite stories in the Bible, David and Goliath. As well, we get into the 3 biggest mistakes you cannot make with your kids. Take a listen.
So I've got several bets going on the SEC championship game.
So what's ours?
What do you want it to be?
I don't know. I feel like it needs to be a good one though. Any ideas?
Well, I'm betting
you open a sermon with Georgia being the best team in the history of the planet.
That's not hard for him to do. That's not hard.
I got a shirt. If I lose, I have to wear a Georgia shirt
while you preach.
While I preach that December 4th.
Yeah.
So that's already on the table.
So we'll get you like a Dogs on top shirt or something like that. Like I love, you know what? We'll have a shirt made that says I love the Dogs and David Pollack.
Hey,
that sounds good to me. So what is
you would add your
Are you
going to
wear College Game Day? I love Pastor Jay and LSU.
Well, College Game Day will be over at that point, but we can figure something out. I'll do something on
some sort of hat
social media.
Y'all don't do bowl game stuff?
We do bowl games, but not really like a show, because we don't have 3 hours into a show, but we'll do intermittent stuff.
Here's what it is.
Okay.
PTI. I love PTI.
PTI is good.
The next time you're on PTI after that, you're going to have to wear LSU with Pastor J. I love Pastor J and LSU.
Okay.
And we'll get that made on PTI. You're 5 minutes on PTI.
Deal.
That'll be awesome.
That's great.
That'll be awesome. But I have no confidence in LSU. What is it, like a...
Come on, dude.
What's the spread?
I have no clue.
Is it like 2 weeks?
I haven't even seen it yet.
Is it like 2 touchdowns?
It's probably going to be 14.
Yeah.
I'd imagine if Tennessee's was 9 and Tennessee was number 1 in the country, I imagine it'll be a little bit more. I imagine it'll be 14 because it's in Atlanta, which is basically a home game.
Oh yeah.
I'd say 12 to 14 would be my guess.
Here's an even more important question. You think you can get Joe and I on the sidelines for the SEC championship game?
If you were Georgia fans, probably, but not to root on LSU. No, I'm not bringing more LSU people in the building.
Dude, I'll wear a Georgia shirt. I'll be on the Georgia sidelines. But
you're not going to cheer for them.
Now, on the inside, I will be, not on the outside. Come on, man, get us on the sidelines.
He's a good actor.
Get us down there.
He's a method actor. Yeah.
Get us down there.
We'll see what we got.
It'll be like that. Jolin sent me this TikTok of this Alabama fan married this LSU girl, and his groom's cake was Alabama, and when he cut it open, it was purple and yellow on the inside.
That's pretty good.
And that's pretty much how that's going to be. Like, I'll be on the Georgia sidelines with you.
Yeah.
Georgia on the outside, but I'll be bleeding LSU.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to stand with you. I just don't know. I don't know if I would want to do that. That's just probably not something I would do.
Well, pray about it and see what the Lord would lead you to do, taking Pastor Jay to the game and Jolin. You got to invest in Jolin's life. You know what I mean? You're a mentor. You're someone that he looks up to, and it'd just be a good opportunity.
Got to invest in the future of kids.
Spend some time with him. So I'm at the North Oconee High School football game Friday night, which was awesome. Those kids can play.
They're good.
They dominated opening round of the playoffs. But probably 4 or 5 different people I talked to, the same story kept coming up from the previous Friday night, which you were in town for that game because y'all were in Athens for the Georgia game on Saturday.
Yeah.
But apparently the other team wanted to fight North Oconee for running up the score at the end of the game, and then some big dude on the other side, and you and him are gonna like settle the score between the two of you. So
I'm not sure that's
how much truth to this story is there, but I heard it from several people.
Well, I mean, first of all, it was a bad deal. We scored with a little bit of time left, and the coach got upset and then sent a player to retaliate, and the player hit one of our kids really hard on a kickoff, and the kid got hurt pretty good. I mean, it was not a good deal. It was not a pretty situation, and then at the end, it got even more heated, and people are running on the field. And I think the biggest reason it escalated was there was a lady there that came on the field that was really she was running her mouth pretty good, and I think that it kind of escalated from, because Tyler did a good job. Our head coach did a great job apologizing, trying to end it, trying to get it settled. I thought he handled himself really great, and then it got back and forth more, and it got bigger. I didn't. There was no threat of a fight or anything like that with me. I did say that the other coach, I was just like, hey, we can just send everybody out and get everybody gone, and you send your biggest guy, and then me and him can settle it at midfield, and then we're just done. Whoever wins. Like, I did say that, but nothing big. It was overblown. It was not needed, not necessary, but the kids did a good job getting off the field and not making it worse.
Yeah. Well, the story probably.
It always gets better, doesn't it?
Yeah, it gets better.
It's better.
And then when it got back to Pastor Jay, it was like their biggest dude was going to take on Davey, and they were going to settle the score. And
that'd be awesome.
And I was thinking, that dude, I don't care how big.
Bull in the ring, just circle up. Whoever pushes the other one out wins.
I don't care how big that dude is, how muscle bound that dude is. My money's on you.
There were some big dudes on their squad. We were outnumbered. They were at home for sure. There was a lot of them.
That guy does not want to mess with Davey.
So that's like a Goliath, messing with a Goliath. Is that what that is?
Well, that kind of led me to what I thought we would talk about today. I appreciate that. We are being videoed here, and you're like right in front of me. You're making fun of me, like right in front of my face.
I mean, yeah, I didn't hide it. I was just Pastor Jay goes, "Oh, that brings me to." Well, no crap. That's why I said it. He was like, "It's called a, your segue."
A segue.
It's called
a transition.
Segue. Yeah.
Well, we got some good feedback when we shared Bible stories several weeks ago, and so I thought we would dive into this great story of David versus Goliath. But I want us to look at the story from the perspective of a parent. And I want us to look at the story with the idea of raising kids that become champions. So how can we raise kids to be like David? The kind of kid that's gonna go into the ring, that's gonna face the giant, that's gonna take down the giants in his or her life. And so if we go back to 1 Samuel chapter 16, Jesse has this family.
Eight siblings? He's got nine of them?
7. David's the 8th son.
David's the 8th.
And so Samuel comes. God sends Samuel to Jesse's family to anoint the next king. They line up all 7 of the sons.
Except for David.
Like,
nah, bro.
And then Samuel's like, none of these are the guy. Do you have another one? Like, well, there's the runt of the litter. There's the 12th round draft pick. There's David. And so then he brings little David. And so he said, David is the one. This is what he says. He says, so he sent and had him brought in. He was ruddy and with a fine appearance and handsome features. Then the Lord said, rise and anoint him. He is the one. So Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the presence of his brothers. And from that day on, the Spirit of the Lord came upon David in power. Pretty amazing. So fast forward to 1 Samuel chapter 17. Those of us who love sports love the story of David and Goliath, especially those who are Georgia Tech fans.
LSU fans.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
We just won the West.
Yeah. I mean, can we be honest? The West isn't that great anymore.
So you're just totally throwing Alabama to the scrap heap.
I mean, we talked about that on game day this past week.
I know you were pretty bold.
It's a trend. It's not a blip.
Yeah, that's what you said. I was paying attention.
Yeah, you definitely see the cracks. The cracks in the armor. You definitely see that Bama's lost a lot over the last couple years, and I think there'll be some changes made if they're going to continue to try to be what they've been in the past. And I think it's going to be hard regardless, but. Yeah, I mean, the West isn't that great, bro. Like, Ole Miss's best win is Kentucky.
And Kentucky lost to Vanderbilt.
I mean, I just think that Ole Miss played good against, Bama. They gave him a good game, but let's just not act.
You think Saban's on the hot seat?
No, he's not on the hot seat. It's like Jimbo Fisher, 95 million reasons why he's not on the hot seat. But anyways, I digress. So back to your great story.
So let's get back to the story of David and Goliath. So we fast forward to 1 Samuel chapter 17. I'm going to try to tell the story quickly,
okay,
so we can get into the meat of the thing. You basically have the Israelites, King Saul and the Israelites on one hill, the Philistines on the other hill, the Valley of Elah in the middle. You have Goliath, this 9-foot tall dude. He's this warrior. He's enormous. he comes out every morning for 40 days and 40 nights. And he basically taunts King Saul and everybody and says, hey, you send your biggest dude to fight against me, and whoever wins will be slaves of the other. Well, King Saul and all them are scared to death of this guy. They're frightened.
And King Saul is a great warrior.
King Saul's a great warrior.
Supposed to be a great warrior. He's the leader of, obviously the leader of the people, but I don't know that he's showing much leadership at this time.
Yeah, that's
fair.
I agree 100%. Like, that could be a whole message in and of itself. Why is Saul not stepping up?
Well, that to me is a big part of the story. Is Saul is the king. Saul is the warrior. Saul is the opposite of David, by the way. Comes from wealth. He's handsome. All that good stuff. I'm not saying David wasn't
handsome.
And
he's tall.
He's a big, strong dude
strong
that comes
appearance.
from a strong family, a strong lineage. And when Goliath comes out there, he hides. So is that you're a leader, you're the king, and that's what you're choosing to hide.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is important for what David does, because David, who's a boy, he doesn't hide.
Yeah, so David shows up on the scene. Jesse sends him to check on the 3 older brothers who are at the war. He brings them cheese or bread or something. And so he overhears Goliath taunting the Israelites. And he's like, who is this guy that's defying the armies of the living God? And then he finds out that whoever takes down Goliath gets all this wealth, gets to marry the king's daughter, and then his family's not going to have to pay taxes again. So he's like, I'll take the guy out. Of course, his oldest brother's jealous, and he's kind of giving him a hard time about it.
Making fun of him.
Making fun of him,
And I don't know if he's jealous as much as he's just like, dude, realize you're a runt. You're a nobody. You have no chance.
Yeah, he thinks he's just talking.
Yeah, But again, people along your journey, along your kids' journey, we all had people like this in our whole lives, and we're going to continue to have people. There's going to be a million people that pat you on the head and say, that's really cute. Like when I told people I was going to play in the NFL, I can't tell you how many pats on the head. Like, that's really cool. That's awesome. But again, God knows what's inside, and God knows what's in the heart, not just on the outside, which is awesome. But I think it's important. That's an important part of the story too.
Haters gonna hate.
Haters gonna hate.
Haters gonna hate. So they bring him to King Saul.
Me and my family. Sorry, go ahead.
So they bring him to King Saul, and he says, I can take him out. And King Saul's like, you're just a boy. He's a champion. He has all this experience. I mean, and you think David, I think scholars say he's around 13, 14 years old. I mean, how old's Nicholas?
14.
I mean, he's like Nicholas's age, right?
Crazy.
But Nicholas is just big.
He's probably a little smaller, but yeah.
He was probably more like Jolin's size when Jolin was 14. Jolin's just looking at me.
All right.
Anyway, so King Saul's like, you can't take him out. And then David goes back into history, and he says, I was watching my father's sheep. A lion came to attack the sheep.
Yep.
I killed the lion. A bear came to kill the sheep. I killed the bear. God gave me the lion, gave me the bear. God got to give me the giant Goliath. And so he convinces Saul that he can do it. And basically, Saul says, the Lord be with you.
Yeah.
So then Saul gives him his armor. He says, well, you're going to need some armor. So he tries on Saul's armor, and it doesn't fit. He can't move. He said, I can't go in these. So he goes in his shepherd's clothes.
Yep.
He has his staff, and he has a slingshot. He goes down and he gets 5 smooth stones.
Real quick, why do you think Saul gave him his armor?
I think he needed to protect. He thought he needed some kind of protection.
You don't think Saul knew that he was way bigger than him, and it was way too big, and it would have dragged him down, and maybe he was trying to pull him down and say it's way heavy and just help him fail?
I don't know. That's an interest. I haven't thought about that angle, but I definitely.
You putting on a huge armor that's 2 times bigger than you are. Like, all that's going to do is weigh you down, like, and basically make you worthless, make you not be able to fight. So not only did he hide, not only did he, not face the challenge himself as the king, like David has the courage to step up, and then I think he's sabotaging him.
So you think he wanted him to fail?
Yeah, I think he I mean, he kind of proves throughout the next, however many books in Samuel and moving forward that he doesn't want David to succeed. He wants to kill him.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it started then probably, but I think it might have started then. Like, I think he wanted to sabotage him. Like, here, take my armor. That's going to do really good. This weighs 7,000 pounds, and I'm going to be awful, and I can't even shoot a rock at you.
Yeah, that actually, when I get into the mistakes to avoid in raising kids, so we're going to talk about that. So
okay,
you're always like one step ahead of me.
I don't mean to be. We just don't talk about the show beforehand, so this doesn't really help.
So David goes down. He and Goliath are meet in the middle. Goliath sees this little boy coming at him, and he starts like talking trash. You know, of course, we do a little trash talking on the basketball court.
Yeah.
You know, Pastor Jay likes to talk a little trash. Davey definitely likes to talk trash. Anyway, Goliath is like, you know, who are you to come against me with sticks and stones? You know, am I a dog? And he says, I'm gonna feed your flesh to the birds of the air and the beasts of the field. And then David comes right back at him and says, you know, who are you to defy the armies of the living God? I'm gonna feed your flesh to the birds of the air and the beasts of the field. And they start running at each other. And of course, David takes the slingshot, hits him in the forehead. He goes falling down. David runs over, pulls out Goliath's his own sword, cuts his head off, which is so awesome. And then he holds the head up to show the Israelite army, and they come pouring down the hill. And of course,
what did the other side do?
They ran.
They gone.
Right? They ran. And so David ends up becoming, he gets to marry the king's daughter, and then eventually he becomes next in line, and he becomes king. And so there's a hidden truth in this passage that I want us to talk about and bring up. But in 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 58, whose son are you, young man? Saul asked him. David said, I am the son of your servant Jesse of Bethlehem. And I think it's a fascinating part of the story because King Saul recognized this greatness in David. And his first question is, whose son are you? Which speaks to how David's parents had raised him. And it puts this huge importance on us as parents. I mean, we're raising our kids. We're pouring into our kids. So, I mean, one, it's a little bit exciting because we get to be the parent who pours into our kids, but also it's a little bit scary that we have that kind of influence on our kids. And someone might ask our kids one day, whose son are you? Whose daughter are you? Like, what did they do? How did they parent you? And so they can learn from that. So,
and you're either going to stick your chest out, and bow up real big, or you're going to probably slouch a little.
Because it could go the other way.
Yeah, it could go both ways.
Yeah.
But
so I want to talk about mistakes to avoid in raising kids that become champions. And the first one is don't limit your child's ability. I was thinking about Jesse. I mean, at first, he doesn't even bring him in the lineup to be anointed as king.
No.
So he's the run of the litter. He's the 12th round draft pick.
Yep.
He's the baby. He's the littlest. Then he doesn't send him to war, right? Because he wants to protect him. He thinks, well, he's the little baby. I want to protect him. And so.
And by the way, I see this a lot. And I experienced this a little bit too as a kid. And that's why I love like affirmations. That's why I love sayings. Like I think you see this a lot, and I think parents have to be very, very careful. We were actually talking about this in small group. Like when your kid has actions and your kids do things that drive you nuts, for example, like not picking up shoes or moving them to the closet or moving them out of the way instead of right in the floor, right where they throw them, like right in your way. I think there's a lot of power in your words. Like there's a lot of power in what you say. I think your kids will adopt and morph to the personality in what you give them. Like if you call your kids lazy all the time, you're lazy. You don't move your shoes. You're lazy. Why are you lazy all the time? Well, now when they don't do something, well, I'm lazy. You've already told me I'm lazy. Like I'm going to adopt what you say. Like I'm going to, those words you continue to repeat to me over and over again, like I'm going to become. Like I've told you in the past with my parents, my nickname was Chunk. My dad called me a nickname as Chunk. Like I adopted it. I loved it. I love being Chunk. I was bigger, football player. It was okay. Well, I still, no matter what I do, I still see Chunk in the mirror because I adopted that. I adopted that personality. I took it to heart. I used it, and it's still a part of my life. I think we have to be very careful as parents of what we speak into our kids and how we speak into our kids, because there's a difference between saying, you don't have to take the shortcut. Like it's 2 more steps, take your shoes, put them in the closet. And you're lazy. Don't be lazy. Does that make sense? Like, I know it's small, but you talk about like adopting something. Like when you tell your kids over and over, they're a fighter. Like you're a fighter. You've got a competitive spirit. Like I love that every atmosphere we put you in, you're always comfortable. You're a fighter. You're never going to quit. You're always going to keep working hard. That's what we're about. You don't think they'll adopt that? Like 100% will adopt that. So I think that's a big part of our responsibilities as parents is to speak life into our kids and speak truth into our kids, speak God's word into our kid. God doesn't give me the spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and a sound mind. Like that fear ain't from us. That fear ain't from God. Like us speaking those things into them, I think goes a long way with what they adopt and what they choose to embrace.
I love what you're saying. You're basically saying that a parent's words have the power to shape a child's life.
100%.
And as James chapter 3 tells you, you can use your words to speak life or to speak death.
Yep.
And so I love that. So instead of saying, hey, you're lazy, you're lazy, you're lazy, you could do it in a positive way, an encouraging way, and a challenging way.
And by the way, I'm not saying this is easy.
Right.
And kids drive you nuts. I mean, my kids, I got to be careful now, by the way, because Leah told me at school she clicked on Family Goals and listened to us one day. And I was like, ooh, I got to be careful what I say about Leah from now on. But like,
I've often thought that on the show.
I mean, worry about that for sure. But like our kids, and we have a small group, man, and we're getting into it awesome in our small group. And we're just talking about kids and like, they're looking for, especially teenagers. Like my kids, 14 and 12, they're looking for their independence in certain areas. They're trying to pull away, right? We did the same thing. There's going to be things that we're trying to build an identity in and we're trying to focus on. And we've got to really pay attention to those things. And that's where, it's funny. Like I've always been the parent that I'm like, I don't give an inch. I don't give an inch. I'm not your friend. Like I fight all the battles. I don't pick the battles. I don't pick my battles. I fight all the battles. Like me and Lindsay take a lot of pride. Like we're going to be all the time consistent. And now as they get older, you're like,
you got to choose those battles.
do we really want to die on the hill of showering?
Yeah.
Like, do I really want to go at Leah and Nicholas and argue about showering? Like, it's almost, okay, you know what? If you don't want to shower, go be the smelly kid. It's okay. It's not that big of a deal. Yeah. Guess what? If you don't want to do homework, it's your choice. If you don't want to go to bed at a good time, like I think the biggest thing we have to do as parents with all these things is we have to, like sleeping, for example. Okay, here's the benefits of sleep. When you sleep, your body gets rest, everything gets rest, your mind's fresher, your body's fresher. There's so many big advantages to going to bed at a good time. If you don't want to do that and you choose not to do that, like I'm tired this morning. Well, you stayed up late. Like, but I think it's an interesting dynamic now that I'm learning, like as a parent, is where you choose to interject, where you choose to, and it's hard, man. It is difficult. It is extremely difficult. And learning in the journey of what to do, what to say, how to do it, what to pick. But I think we all have these things in our lives that we're balancing, and we got to find the importance of how important is it to the kid to build its independence in this, and how important is it to you? Okay, can I give a little bit? Do I have to give a little bit more? And this is a complete side tangent, but this is the stuff that I'm experiencing as a kid, as a parent that's screwing up and trying to figure out.
You definitely have to choose your battles and choose what's most important. And our kids change and they grow and they develop. So like Jessie, she's our 14-year-old. Like a year ago, we were like, hey, Jessie, you might want to shower every now and then. Kind of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, now she's grown. She's in high school. She's the complete opposite of that. She's waking up at 4:30 in the morning to shower and fix her hair, and she's putting on makeup all the time. And it's just like, what has happened to this girl? Like a year ago, we couldn't even get her to take a shower. And now she's, curling her eyelashes every morning on the way to school. It's like, what? And taking like a bunch of selfies, like thousands of selfies a day.
Thousands?
I don't get, has to be thousands. I'm not exaggerating.
It's gotta be.
She's gone from, I don't care what I look like or what I smell like, to, it's like she's getting ready for a wedding day every morning at school. And
even when she doesn't go out, it's like an online learning day. She's at home. And she's putting on makeup and doing her hair.
Always
and all
putting
this.
on makeup, always fixing her hair, deodorant, perfume.
And
I hope she's wearing deodorant. I mean,
and you just like, hey, it is what it is. Let it go. It doesn't really matter. Those things are.
I'm letting that one go.
What are you fighting? What battles are we picking?
So we just set it up on her phone yesterday. That so as we were the battle of bring your phone down, like every night, like bring your phone down and, plug it in. Well, now we've figured out, 'cause Jennifer and I are high-tech people, really Jennifer, I'm being facetious, but you can shut their phones can automatically shut off at a certain time.
Oh, yeah.
We're just figuring this out. So instead of us fighting the battle every night of bring your phone down, bring your phone down, bring your phone down, now it just shuts off.
As long as she doesn't know the password, you're good.
Is that okay?
If she knows your password, obviously, then she can.
Well, she's she's sneaky.
Y'all got pretty easy ones to guess.
I
would go into the arsenal.
When we did Nicholas's password, when we got him an iPhone, we definitely made sure we used something obscure that only me and Lindsay would know.
Yeah.
That's way back in the day, and it's not any of the ones that we have now.
Well, I definitely need to follow up with that.
Yeah,
I need to follow.
But
up
it is
with
amazing.
That,
like with the phones, you know how I feel about phones. I don't think they're good. I think social media is worse than phones. But you can control, man. I mean, because me and Lindsay were debating whether to give Nicholas an iPhone, and we were going back and forth, and she booked us an appointment at AT&T, and she was like, "I want you to go sit down and see with these people what you can do with the phone, like how much you can restrict this." And I was like, "I don't really care. I don't want him to get a phone. It's pretty simple." She's like, "Will you please go sit down?" And then you go sit down, and you literally can, to the minutes, how many minutes you want them to have on their phone. You can make certain apps deactivate. Like he doesn't have Safari. You don't have the ability to surf. Like you can control everything from an iPhone. Like you literally, it's a really cool thing. If you don't know how to do that, you really should go, look it up online or whatever. But you can control social media. You can shut it off after a certain amount of time of use. Like you really have the power to, you can make it, like he can't download anything on his phone unless it sends a password to us and we have to type it in. So we see what the app is, we see what it is, and make sure that it's something that we want him to have, and then it downloads. So, I mean, you can really do a good job of keeping a leash on that stuff. But it's interesting too is, when you start this phone journey, and when we started it, now that we've started with Nicholas, down the road, is if you have rules, like putting the phone, like in our house, the phone doesn't go upstairs. It's just, that's our rule. Like the phone stays downstairs. Friends over, their phones stay downstairs. If you don't like it, don't come over. I mean, it's pretty simple. Mm-hmm. Like you have to do that. And if you set that precedent now when they're, some kids are getting phones at 8, 9, 10, like you set it now, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, whatever it is, whatever age. Well, that's always how we've done it. Like we're not doing anything different. When you're 15, it's the same thing as when you were 12. Like it's just a part of having a phone. Our phone that you get to use, like it's a part of the rule books of having it. So, man, those things are dangerous. Social media is dangerous. And if you don't have a lock on it, like, again, we used to have, 1 or 2 people, 3, 4, 5, 6 people that could influence you. You give them a phone and you give them unrestricted access, everybody in the world can influence them. Yeah. Anytime, any place, anywhere, just by one little click, I
definitely think the phones are a battle you want to choose to fight. And boundaries.
I'm fighting that one.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'll say this too, is I'm also fighting it differently than I did a year ago or 6 months ago. Like, Lindsay has to talk to me about it. Like, do we want to fight playing games on a phone? Is that something you really want to fight? And I think she's done a really good job with me, is because I just can't stand when you look at it. Like, when you're looking at it, it bothers me. But again, I do the same thing, and I look at mine, and I use mine, and Lindsay uses hers. But like now, is it really the end of the world if he's playing, clans on his game? Mm-hmm. Like is that the end of the world? And we've decided no, it's not the end of the world. And if he wants to play some of that stuff, that's okay. Like, what's the difference in that and playing the Oculus? So I think that changes too on what you choose to allow them to have as they get older. But it's a learning, screwing it up. Like if you're messing it up and you feel like you're drowning, like you're not alone. We're all screwing this up together.
It's a hard fight. Well, let's get back to our story of David and Goliath. The first mistake that the parents make is don't limit your child's ability. And I think just, children can go on to do greater things than we've done. And just because we weren't able to do something, say maybe somebody wasn't able to go to college, but well, maybe doesn't mean your son can't go to college, or you weren't able to make it into the pros, but maybe your son could make it in the, like don't limit your child's ability based upon your experience.
Do you think parents do that a lot?
I think most parents think their kids can go on to do greater things than them. And I don't know why Jesse was so limiting to his son, David, here. I don't know if he was just trying to protect him because he was the baby and he was the smallest one. So
I just wonder about, that with parents, because I see a lot of parents that think their kids can do anything, and I see a lot of parents that are very realistic with their kids.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting, isn't it?
It is. It's very different, and I don't know. I'm a big believer in don't tell them what they can and can't do. Like they're going to figure out along their journey. But I also think that I'm very cautious of what I say because I really don't know. I mean, I don't know what my son can do. I don't know what my daughter's going to be able to do. I know what they are right now, but the biggest thing is I don't remember what I was then. I don't remember how I carried myself. Like I think that's one of the hardest parts of parenting is like we want to give them so much of ourselves and don't do what we did and don't do this and don't do that. And then, but you don't realize that what we could, take in and absorb and use at that age, what we could do. We don't remember that. I don't, my gosh. I mean, I know you don't, because that was even longer ago. It was another decade plus ago before that. So like, I think it's hard. It's so hard. That's a hard part of parenting, but I do think it's very easy to be like, dude, I have no clue what you're going to be. Like Nicholas asks me all the time, do you think I'd be able to do this? I said, I have no clue. I said, but if you try as hard as you can, you work hard. Like, yeah, if you don't accept no, and I can give you stories of people that have overcome huge obstacles to get to there. I can give you stories of people that did it easily and got there. I mean, I don't know what you're going to grow into and what you're going to be, but here's what's important right now. Here's what's important for your future. Like you got to have a work ethic to accomplish this. You got to have joy to accomplish this. I mean, but it's always interesting. You see some parents that are like, nah, you're not going to do that. Like you're not going to the NBA. You're not going to Major League Baseball. Like, and I don't know the right answer. That might be the right answer for some people, but it's a hard question. It's a hard thing to put somebody in a box and tell them they can't do something.
And I think creating an environment for them to thrive, creating the environment where they can thrive in every area of their life.
Yep.
So, all right, the second mistake that we see in this story is don't try to make your kids fit into a certain mold. And that's where I was thinking about with King Saul and his armor. Like he tried to put David in his armor. He tried to get David to fit into the mold. Well, this is what a soldier wears, this armor. So if you're going to be a soldier, then you need to put this armor on.
Yeah. Might as well have gave him his sword too.
Yeah.
Like give him a sword and going against a 9-foot, Goliath. Good luck with that. What did David use?
Yeah, he used a slingshot.
He used what he had.
Yeah, he used what he had.
He used what he had and what he had trained with. Like, what did he train? Like, he trained and beat lions and bears. Like, he trained with that at home, defending his sheep. Like, that's how he built his confidence. That's how he built his, value. That's how he became, him. That's how he became who he was. And a lot of times I think it's hard we evolve, we grow, and all that stuff. But like he used what he had, and he used a training ground growing up, and built confidence with what he had, and then went and attacked with what he had.
Yeah, this is one of the things. Like with Jolin growing up, he was our first child, and I mean, I wanted a son who loves sports. Like I love sports, he should love sports. But I kept having to remind myself, well, if he doesn't like sports, that's okay. Just because I like sports, he doesn't have to like sports. And I have no musical inclination whatsoever. Like I can't sing and I can't play an instrument.
Can you dance?
Once a month.
No.
Okay.
Once a month.
He thinks he can dance.
Once a month, I get the moves.
Okay.
But other than that. But so Jolin, he plays guitar, he sings, he has a good voice. His grandfather is a minister of music. And Jolin's playing the guitar last couple of weeks ago, which was encouraging.
Let's get it straight. I cannot sing.
You have a great voice.
He didn't say you could sing. He said you had a great voice.
I can make a joyful noise to the Lord. I can't sing.
Joyful.
So I think with our kids, not limiting our kids or not trying to get them to fit into a certain mold, they might like things that we don't like.
Yeah.
And so, like, Julia, our daughter, she tried everything. She tried dance, piano, gymnastics, softball, basketball, tennis, art, cheerleading, singing, chorus.
So what's her thing now?
She's really into
Makeup?
leadership now. Well, she's into disc golf now.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah. So she ended up being the number one tennis player on the high school tennis team. Like, she was like,
As a freshman?
pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I'm talking about Julia.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Now Jessie.
I was thinking Jessie.
Middle child.
Yeah, the middle child. Julia was like number one
Correct.
in Grayson High School, and
Well, so what is Jessie into?
Jessie plays tennis, but she's really into makeup right now. She's really into her looks. I'm having a hard time getting her out there practicing, so I'm kind of like, okay.
I can't tell if you're smiling through the pain of this or
I
you're.
think he's smiling through the pain.
Okay,
I would try, like Jessie could be, like, she could make varsity as a ninth grader if she would put a little practice into it. But she's not willing to practice.
You tell him about that tournament y'all were in last year?
Oh, you're not going to
Father-daughter?
Yeah. Did I tell you about this?
No.
You're not going to believe this. So they had this little fundraiser at the Loganville High School, this mixed doubles. And any mixed doubles can play.
I can see where this is going.
So me and Jessie and I play.
Yeah.
So she's 8th grade playing on the JV, and so she's a little bit intimidated with all the varsity and all the kids.
On, yeah.
And so we sign up for this tournament. So we win the first round easy. And then second round, we're playing these two real competitive, like, teachers. Like, they're really into it. And we beat them. And then we beat this husband and wife 6-0. And so we're in the semifinals waiting.
Are you the guy, like, are you running in front of Jessie, hitting shots?
I'm
like that guy?
like she's playing back and I'm serving and volleying.
I can so see you being that guy.
And so, like, we're dominating this tournament.
Yep. She hadn't hit a ball yet, but you're dominating.
No, she's doing her part. She's serving. And so we're in the semifinals, and she's like, I don't want to play anymore. It's like we're playing all these matches back to back. She's like, I don't want to play anymore. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, the coach said we only have to play 2 matches. I said, no, the coach said everyone's guaranteed 2 matches. Everyone gets at least 2 matches, but if you keep winning. So I was showing her the bracket. She's never played in tournament or anything. So I was showing her the bracket, like we were the blonde lobsters. And so I said, look, the blonde lob, we're winning. We're in the semis.
Yeah.
One more, we're in the finals. At least you can get some hardware.
I'm sure she was all in on the hardware. I'm sure that was a big part of her.
Yeah, she's like, well, why would I want a plaque? Well, why would I want that? So long story short, we defaulted the semis of this tournament. Like, we were dominating, and we ended up defaulting. We would have for sure won the semis. Now, the finals, they have a really good girl at Loganville, and she was playing with her pro. She, I don't think we could have beaten them. We would at least come in second. But when I told Jolyn and Julia that we defaulted the semis, they were like, Dad, we would have never done that. Like, we would have.
That's nuts, dude.
I'm just wired. We're wired different.
Yeah,
so now I figured out something about you.
What's that?
I figured out why you retired from tennis. That would make me retire from tennis too.
Well, yeah, it wasn't too long after that.
I mean, goodness, great. Like,
yeah.
Oh man,
you could
that would be
very
hard.
easily try and make Jessie fit into this mold of who you want her to be. This high school tennis star.
Yeah.
But that's not who she is. That's not who she wants to
I'm
be.
about resolved to the fact of
Makeup queen.
if she just wants to play JV as a 9th grader, then she can play JV. Like, I mean, like, she wants to play tennis, but it's kind of like
She wants to play tennis on her terms.
Yeah, like
kind of like when she.
I basically said, hey, I'm available to practice if you want to practice.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then I'm gonna let it go. But the other 2 kids, they were begging me to go out and practice with them and drill them and
So is that hard?
play
then?
with them.
That's hard for you to swallow, then, probably, right?
It's incredibly. I mean, it's going to be really. If she ends up being on JV, when I know she could have been on varsity as a 9th grader, because see, varsity you practice twice as much, you get 3 times as many matches, so you're going to play a lot. You're going to get.
See, you're looking. You're
better.
looking for future.
Right.
While she's just playing.
Yeah, she's just had. Well, she's.
By the way, I'm not saying you're right. Just to be clear.
Yeah. Well,
I wasn't saying you took some pride in that answer. I could tell you kind of, but that's not. I didn't say you were right.
She wants to be on the team with her friends.
Yeah, which is okay.
And so I'm like, well, what if Elena's on varsity? Well, then I want to be on varsity. Well, you better practice if you want to be on varsity.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be interesting, but yeah. But third time around, I do think I am a little more laid back about it.
Well, I think it, but in the end, again, does 9th grade tennis mean anything?
What does varsity tennis mean anything?
Here's what I would say. I think we put so much, and by the way, raising my hand, guilty. Like when the kids were younger, I put so much into many of these little tournaments and these little things that just didn't matter. And if I could go back and do it again, I wouldn't. Like if I could go back and do it again, like Nicholas and Leah playing 8th grade basketball. It is so awesome that I don't have to coach them. That's thing number one that's awesome. I don't have to say a word. And I don't care. It's 8th grade basketball. Who cares? Like, this has nothing to do with their future. Mm-hmm. This has nothing to do with varsity basketball. Like, if they have a great experience, it has nothing to do with varsity. Like, because tomorrow they could decide they don't want to play. They could literally decide that, and you see it all the time. That's what I think as you get older and you in this, you're like, okay, there's a great chance that they're going to be quitting at least one of these, maybe two. And so why am I going to why am I putting effort into this? Like, and again, I am not perfect at this, and I'm not trying to tell you I'm perfect at this, but I think we got to get to a point where we just don't necessarily care. And I'm there a lot of the times, and sometimes it bothers me. So I'm just telling you, like, it's hard, but their journey, their decisions, they're going to make them, they're going to learn from them, they're going to be better for them. But, you know, like the decisions for them to go to church every Sunday, that ain't a decision.
Right.
Their decision to go on Wednesdays, that's not a decision. Like, we're leaders. Sorry, we're going regardless. You're going with us. You know, I mean, those are the things that are got to be important. And again, we started a while back talking about picking battles. Like, is that a battle we want to pick? I'm done with that battle. Like, I'm done picking the battle of what my son and daughter want to do. Like, if they want to play sports, I want them to play sports and get all the things from them. But do I really want to argue with them and fight with them and make them do X, Y, and Z? I mean, it's hard enough to be a parent. And if you're going to have to drive that component of it too, I think it's going to make your job even harder with an already hard task.
Well, I've been watching you. You've given your kids every possible opportunity to succeed. And ultimately, it's going to be up to them.
Yeah.
Man, you got a gym at your house.
Yeah.
You have a weight room at your house. Like
Yep.
You've given them every opportunity. And so really it's up to them.
It's up to them completely.
And that would be the same with all of our kids. I mean, I've given my kids the opportunity too. Which leads me.
One last thing. Is your daughter is she like a TikTok and with makeup and stuff? Or are we just like taking photos and stuff?
No, she's on Snapchat.
Oof. You're right. You're doing that. Is that one of the battles you didn't want to fight?
Well, we got her off of TikTok. She's not. It was one or the other. You can't be on both. Okay. All of her friends are on TikTok, and that's how they communicate. Like, that's how they text back and forth.
On Snapchat.
Snapchat.
Yeah.
But not which
is interesting, by the way. Why they choose Snapchat?
They choose. Yeah. So it's like you got to choose one or the other, Snapchat or TikTok.
But I'm saying, why kids choose to text on Snapchat? Why they choose? They don't use their phone text message. They choose to do. Why?
I have no. I don't
because
understand
it disappears.
Is that what it is?
Yes, it goes away. That's exactly.
I don't even know it. I probably need to get more into this, but it's definitely a concern we have.
Yeah, I'm surprised at the amount of smiling you do with it. Like, it's kind of. I don't feel like Jolyn. Would he have done that with you?
I had it. I had Snapchat
in ninth grade.
I didn't have an iPhone till I don't know when.
High school, probably.
High school. I had it in high school.
Not in middle school. Yeah. We wouldn't let them have phones in middle school. I mean, Jesse's got a phone earlier. I mean, everything's changing. But I digress. She's a spoiled grandchild. All right, so number 3 is you don't have the best plan for your kids. God has the best plan for your kids. And so Jesse wanted David to be a shepherd. God wanted David to be a warrior and a king. So I think, have an open hand with them. I wrote down here, hug them tightly, but hold them with an open hand. And who knows what God has in store for their lives. And I did put on here, and we would just talk about this a while ago, but instead of pushing our kids to be stud athletes, let's push them to be spiritual studs. Like, and I love what you said. Like, church is not an option. Like, they're going to be at church. Those kinds of things are not an option. The other, the sports is an option if they want to practice or not practice. So,
yeah.
So those are 3 mistakes. Now I've got 3 qualities of a champion.
So go over the mistakes again. Cover those.
3 mistakes. Mistakes to avoid. Don't limit your child's ability. Don't try to make your kids fit into a certain mold. And you don't have the best plan for your child. God has a better plan for your child than you do.
Thank you for listening to this week's Family Goals podcast with David Pollack and Pastor Jay. The greatest takeaway from this podcast is letting your kids dream. We never know what they are capable of, and if they have a dream, let them go for it. 1 Timothy 4:12 says, "Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for believers in speech, conduct, love, faith, and in purity." Ephesians 3:20 says this, "God can do anything, far more than you can ever imagine or guess or request in your wildest dreams. He does it not by pushing us around, but by working within us, his spirit deeply and gently within us." Man, that fires me up. So as long as your kid is pursuing Jesus and following God, strive to let them dream and do what they love. There is no perfect mold. You can't force your kids into any career path or passion. It is ultimately up to them. Love them through what they love to do. Thank you again for listening to the Family Goals podcast, and we'll catch you next week.